Hello, and thank you for joining me for a magical Victorian Christmas. We're stepping back in time to explore a world of Victorian fashion to a magical historic pub in London with windows looking out onto a cobbled square where historical costumers have gathered in amazing outfits that they have lovingly sewn or thrifted, styled in imaginative ways, or sought out and discovered as precious antiques. So join us to explore this rich tapestry of Victorian fashion and get inspired by some wonderful Victorian and festive costume ideas. And Wisteria Laces created her own absolutely stunning outfit. The look she was going for was a frosted cranberry Tolstoy novel with a Fanny and Alexander energy, which I think that she has achieved with extraordinary success. She sewed her jacket using the Victorian dressmaker one pattern and also sewed the skirt as well. I think the effect is absolutely stunning with a gorgeous Christmassy colourway, and she absolutely looks like a Tolstoy heroine, doesn't she? A real feast for the eye. And just look, Monica's striking blue ensemble. Her inspiration came from studying various fashion plates from around 1872 to 73, just before the first bustle period was truly in full swing. She loves the drape of the just slightly supported skirts of the era and the more streamlined designs before all the, she says, excessive fluff and frills come in. She constructed her costume entirely herself, including developing patterns for the bodice and the skirts. The bodice and the underskirt are both in the stiff royal blue taffeta built onto a satin lining. The overskirt and undersleeves are made of a lighter midnight blue crepe to give them a nice swing and drape, and the ensemble is trimmed in a mix of knife pleated and top stitched lace. She also pattern drafted and constructed the cape, which is in the same blue taffeta as the bodice and underskirt and lined with a white faux fur trimmed in the same lace as the other pieces, as well as some pleated. Her lovely friend Kate decorated her little blue Mary Jane shoes for her, and Monica, so she also has to give her huge congratulations for doing her amazing hairstyle so perfectly. And just look at this stunning dress by Laura Jamie Bruce. This was her inspiration, and she sewed the entire outfit herself, including even that wonderful bustle. And I think the gorgeous Christmassy red with just those details in white really make it sing. She's always one to create a truly amazing costume. And here's something entirely different and just as beautiful. Natasha of Colonel Panic adores the pre-Raphaelites and the arts and crafts art movements, and has always been inspired by the look of the women in the paintings and the family photographs of the artist. She loves the photographs of William Morris's family, in which his wife and daughters wear strings of beads and loose flowing dresses, and that's the look she tried to bring together in her costume. So using this inspiration from the aesthetic dress movement of the mid to late 1800s, and she says not being skilled at sewing or making things from scratch, she enjoyed looking through her own closets and through charity or thrift stores to see what she could alter. As she said, you never know what you might stumble upon, and she started her search knowing that she would need lots of fabric, preferably velvet, and found this wonderful purple velvet dress along with the necklace. She also thrifted her blouse from back home in Los Angeles, and she made the belt herself with thrifted velvet and some cardboard. And of course, doesn't her hair look wonderfully pre-Raphaelite as well? And for something completely different again, we have Olga Ofenis in this striking antique late 1890s to 1900s woolen cape with beautiful Art Nouveau style soutache and silk decoration. Her woolen skirt is also antique 1900s and part of a lady's Norfolk Norfolk suit from her collection, and she made the hat herself to match the cape. Rather gorgeous hat there on her striking hair. And she says the 1890s to 1910s is her favourite fashion period, and she's been collecting and making items from those decades for the last 10 years. And isn't it a treat to see that cape with its Art Nouveau style soutache and silk decoration? It truly is a thing of beauty. And of course the gentlemen were equally as fabulously dressed. And here we have Marcus of Discount Count in what he describes as a semi-formal look. He wears a double-breasted overcoat and a top hat, an Albert double-breasted frock coat with a green brocade waistcoat, again double-breasted, and that green brocade waistcoat looks very striking indeed, and of course perfect for Christmas. And then button boots and a cravat tied in a barrel knot, and his clothes are reproduction except for the antique coats and the hat. And Marcus very sportingly handed everybody's hats back to them after the lunch, carrying them in his own unique way, which created a very fun flourish to the end of the lunch. And here we have Bella of Rou Your KN in this gorgeous Christmassy Victorian red dress. She sewed the bodice herself and added the mid-1890s leg of mutton sleeves. If you saw my previous video, you'll remember that she hadn't finished doing all the buttons down the front of her bodice, and you can see here they're now all completed and looking perfectly sewn. And her skirt was a theatrical underskirt, and Bella is demonstrating that I'm afraid drink was taken during the Christmas lunch, and she's also showing off a pair of delicious Yorkshire puddings that we ate as part of the lunch. If you haven't come across Yorkshire puddings, I know some of you watch from the United States. You have Yorkshire puddings in the United States? I'm not sure. You can let me know in the comments. I'd be quite interested. Thoroughly recommend. Bella's wonderful cape is from the late 1960s, possibly early 1970s, when you do see a lot of these Edwardian style full-length capes. I've seen them sold by Laura Ashley, for example. It was too long, so Bella shortened it by 10 centimetres, and she also added the black velvet bands, hand-stitching them to the 3 shoulder capes to add more interest and highlight the ruffles. Bella loves the drama of a cloak and is planning to sew one in black with shoulder capes, which I'm sure will be magnificent. And the striking Johnny Har wears an original Victorian smoking jacket from the 1880s to 90s, and that rather wonderful cap he's wearing is an antique Victorian smoking cap with yellow and red embroidery detailing and tassels. Beneath it he wears an original Victorian dress shirt with some subtle flower detailing and original Edwardian trousers. He also has an original Victorian 1890s waistcoat with red and black detailing. His bow tie is an antique Victorian pre-made tie, originally dead stock from France, and his collar reproduction from Darcy Clothing, but otherwise everything else original antiques from either the 1880s to 90s or 1900s. And isn't that whole ensemble absolutely wonderful? And Nadia wears a stunning costume which is a real feat of styling. To emphasize a Christmas theme, she put together a bought costume in the gorgeous green, red and gold colours, adding a holly decoration to her dress and a golden poinsettia to her hat. And doesn't she look wonderfully decorative and beautiful in this costume? And then we have the talented costumier Rebecca in this beautiful outfit she created herself in a Christmassy garnet shade with fur trim and those wonderful classic Victorian leg of mutton sleeves. She's a talented seamstress, and doesn't she look absolutely beautiful in this costume? Delma of Ariel 87 was inspired by a dress of 1886 that she saw on Pinterest, and she decided for Christmas on a colour scheme of green, white and red. Her white dress was actually a thrifted wedding dress. She found a thrift store in Italy selling them, so quite a bargain considering all the fabric that goes into them as well. She added green and white roses and also a red shawl to create that green, white and red Christmas colourway. Her shawl was originally a sari, also found in a thrift shop or charity shop. And for her hairstyle, she took inspiration from Queen Margherita, who was the first queen of Italy. And apparently, I didn't know this, the reason that the pizza Margherita was named. Isn't that a fascinating fact? So thank you to Delma for that and describing how she created her gorgeous costume.
Glass of wine, darling. Always. Rosé. Samantha. Thank you very much. Amazing.
And then we have Gracie in this wonderful Christmas costume. She and her partner Sam were inspired by 1880s fashion plates and Christmas cards for their outfits. They thrifted their base outfits, and then she sewed a bustle onto her dress and trim all around. And her cape was handmade by her partner Sam's grandmother, and they added bobbly trim all over too to style it. She said they just shoved as much red fabric together as they could, which I think is a rather modest way to describe what is such a Christmassy and decorative costume, and was really striking to see on the day. The costumer and cosplayer Lil of Our Century decided to go for a mid-Victorian style, aiming for the bell sleeves and flared coats, while still following the later Victorian styles that included a waistcoat. She used these fashion plates as inspiration. She also made her hat herself, starting by making a cardboard pattern, attaching wire and covering it with wool and lining. She then decorated it with ribbons and the same velvet that she lined her coat with. And she actually patterned her coat freehand, cutting out 2 layers, one of wool and one of velvet, bound with bias binding, and she used gold buttons to fasten it. And hasn't she done a wonderful job with the creation of this outfit? So imaginative and Christmassy in the Victorian style. Edwardian archaeologist Hannah, in her costume of glorious colours, took inspiration mainly from this Victorian fashion plate, which she believes is from January 1898. She took inspiration for her jacket design from the lady on the left and the colour combination inspiration from the lady on the right, and isn't it an absolutely gorgeous colour combination that she's created for a Victorian Christmas? And here with Hannah we have Sophia of Wild Bell Hall in a late 1890s early Edwardian outfit, inspired especially, she says, and I think we can see that, by Anne of Green Gables. What lovely inspiration, and how well she's done it. She especially mentions the Anne of Green Gables series shot in 1985-7, which is actually my favourite adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. She wanted to create a practical everyday outfit with a green belt or cummerbund and hat ribbon and the matching pearl earrings and brooch, adding a more ornate festive touch. She said she's still at the beginning of her own sewing journey, so the blouse, jacket and skirt were bought second-hand from other historical sewers. The skirt is based on an 1890s walking skirt, and the blouse has classic 1890s leg of mutton sleeves. The jacket she adapted from one sold in a modern high street store because it's cut in a loosely Edwardian style. She's made her V-shaped belt herself and is very much looking forward to working on larger historical sewing projects in the new year. Nadia created this gorgeous Christmassy green outfit, all thrifted from her favourite charity or thrift stores. She said mostly it was just an improvisation, wearing her mum's earrings, and she also made herself a micro mosaic Edelweiss pendant. Doesn't she look gloriously Christmassy in this pretty green outfit? And this is Nina of Autistic Cozy Gamer. She wanted to reuse the dress that she wore for the Halloween walk and inventively used the wrong side to make it more Christmassy. It's the first year that she's started sewing, but she wants to mindfully upcycle as much as she can and make reversible pieces that she can rework each year, adding details to progress her hobby. Her dress is thrifted from Vinted, which she chose because it was the right length and colour to suit both autumn and winter events. She reattached the sleeves with buttons on the sides to add volume and shape, and she added trim and tulle. She did it with the help of her husband, she says, because her ADHD and autism make it difficult for her to manage big projects. And I think her dress looks very Christmassy. And then of course there is myself in an outfit sewn from velvet and taffeta. My little mandarin collared jacket was eked out of a piece of claret coloured velvet, and it fits like a glove, largely because I didn't have a scrap of fabric left, and it's lined with an ivory coloured silk, and I used vintage cut glass buttons. And for the short silk taffeta skirt, I also used a net underneath to create a frothy bluey green contrast net petticoat to hold the skirts out. And for my hat, I had to confess that it is actually a 1940s berry hat, but actually the Victorians wore their hats tilted at the front too, and I added silk vintage amaryllis from the 1930s, which luckily and completely by accident happened to match my outfit exactly. In fact, both the jacket and the skirt fitted really closely, which was fine before the lunch, but I actually did lose both the button on the waistband of the skirt and the lowest button of my jacket shortly after the lunch. Perhaps it was the Yorkshire puddings that did it. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you to all the costumers who took part and put many hours into creating these fabulous costumes. They have a true passion and their skill shines through. And thank you to the Society of Salome who organised these events where historical costumers can come together. And thank you to you for watching. It's always wonderful for us to be able to share our creativity with those like you who appreciate it.
Did you find a Yorkshire pudding, madam?
Oh, it was delicious. I had two. Thank you.
You're welcome.